I'm having to take a slight break from the VersaTube build in order to make some bundles and let my batteries on the impact driver recharge. Amanda and I did get the frames all up. Yeah, over the weekend as I was building the VersaTube, I was just getting, well, the one day it rained Saturday, but then the next day, as I was trying to get all this stuff done back here, I just kept getting more and more bundles flying off the roadside stand. So that was a good thing. The downside was I ran out of bundles, so I have none left. So I'm putting to use the handy little Firewood bagging station here from Wolf Ridge Manufacturing. Little boss man is here. Let's see how this thing works here now. So this is the Firewood bagging station from Wolf Ridge Manufacturing. And it's simple enough. You just add your pieces of wood right in there. This is the 1 cubic foot size drum. And then when you're done, you slip your bag over top of it. It pivots right there. And you drop the bag down. And then this little platform is used to set your bag on and tie the drawstrings shut. And it just helps so you don't have the bag on the ground and you don't have to bend over as far. All right, now we're gonna put the bag on. And when I tell you, you can dump it. Ready? Dump it. The other thing, sometimes I'll add an extra piece just to kind of fill out the bag a little bit. So that's another thing that this platform over here works well for. This is probably not the ideal setup to have the wood behind you. This is just how it worked for today. I mean, ideally, if you had your wood right here and I had the bags right here, him and I could be working side by side. He could be getting the wood, I can get the bags, but like I said, it just so happened that today, this is the way it was set up. And there we go. We have a load of bundles all ready to go. I'm even getting some help delivering these up to the roadside stand. So we are gonna run these bundles up, restock the stand, and then we'll be back to talk about this. All right, so on to the VersaTube. The build is, well, it's not complete. The frame, for the most part, the frames and the trusses are all up. And that's where I will tell you right now, Amanda and I, yesterday, we were out here and so the front and the back frame don't have the trusses. So you can see those are just the open frame. So her and I were able to put that back one up and get that in place. But when it came to the trusses, or the frames with the truss on them, they were just too heavy to lift. And we were not able to get to lift those up as high as they are. And I guess that's the one thing that I didn't realize was just how high those frames are and how much force and power you need to lift those frames and get them standing straight up so that then you can lift them up and slide them down onto the connector rails at the bottom. But I will tell you, what I did learn was this. If you strap an IBC tote to a stack of roughly 5 pallets and you set your truss on top of this, your Coyote CK2610 loader is then able to lift these trusses high enough so that you can set them in place. So that's what we ended up having to do. It was either that or I was gonna wait until I had some help. But there was that point in the day where we were at the end of the day and I'm like, we had one of them up, and I just didn't want to give up. So I just thought, hey, why don't I couldn't get high enough. So the loader, the forks, they would not lift the trusses high enough. And so that's where I needed to. First I tried a stack of pallets, and that got them almost high enough, but the pallets were a little wobbly. So then I strapped the IBC tote on top of the pallets to give me enough height. So when I lifted that tote straight up, I could put those trusses. So that part right there was sitting on top of the tote, and I just would lift them up. We'd get them in position, and we'd lift a little bit higher, and then set this part right here and just slides right down on top of that and puts it right in place. One other handy little tip I will tell you is get yourself something like this, a magnetic little dish that will hold your screws in place, and then you can also stick that on the frame whenever you're moving around. It helps keep track of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of screws that you have to put in. And that was the thing that just took the most time yesterday, was just putting in all those screws and then waiting for batteries for the impact driver to recharge. And oh, and one other quick tip. When putting in self-tapping screws into steel, it helps to have the impact driver moving forward with the screw, not trying to back it out. I had to back one of the screws out, and then I didn't switch it back to forward, and all of a sudden I'm sitting here trying to drive this screw in, and I'm like, why is this thing not going through? So I thought that the head or the tip of the screw, the self-tapping part, was messed up. Oh no, I just had it in reverse. So drive forward with self-tapping screws. So the next step is to take these, what they call hat channels, or the purlings, and place those running the length of the frame, and that ties everything kind of together. And then also, that is what the steel is attached to for the roof. And so this version, this model, the steel does not run horizontally. So there will be a piece of steel that runs from the peak down to the end. And so that's what those things right there, that's what you screw the steel into. So there is just a little update on how the VersaTube Carport build is going. Not much of a, I guess, action assembling things. Right now we're kind of just in a holding pattern to get the next pallet of steel for the roof, and just figuring out how exactly I want to go about putting those hat channels on. I'm thinking of maybe using my makeshift lift with the IBC tote and the pallets, and just having Amanda raise me up, put those on. I'm not a huge fan of heights, so we'll see how that goes. But otherwise, everything so far. There was one, I should mention this. One of the web pieces, the webbing of the trusses, I got down to the last truss and I needed 4 and there was only 3. One of the longer pieces was not, I couldn't find it. And so I thought that it was missing. I went and looked, and I was about to call support, but it was Sunday, so I figured I would just wait till this morning to call them. So then I almost just stopped right there, and I'm like, well, I may as well just get the rest of the frame together as much as I can. I went and I picked up one of the very top peaks, the peak piece, and as I lifted that up, the piece I was missing slid out from inside the tube. So somehow that little web bracing piece ended up inside the tube for the peak, and luckily I picked that piece up and tipped it just right so that it slid out and I was able to find it. But yeah, I almost thought that I was missing a piece, and that was gonna kind of bring things to a halt. But the frame is up. Everything's anchored in the ground. They came with 30-inch rebar anchors. I know some people were wondering about how I was going to anchor it. And otherwise, this is where we're at. So far, again, continuing to be the biggest challenge was just the amount of time it took to put these frames, each of the sections together with all the screws that you had to put into them. That just took most of the day, Sunday, because Saturday I got rained out. And so other than that though, it's just been very easy, very straightforward, and going very well.
I've been a real bad boy all the time.